morning, everyone. Today, Judo Sloth is joining us to take a look back at everything we've got this year and answer the question: Was 2025 one of the best years of Clash of Clans history?
What are we calling this? Is this a podcast?
Red. It's Clash.
I'm Rick. We got Liam here today too, and of course, Judo Sloth. Quick note for our live audience: as you listen, hopefully this discussion is going to spark some questions or ideas. We want to hear them. If you type !ask followed by your question in the chat, our bot's going to log in, and we're going to go through all those questions at the end. We're going to pick the ones that feel the most relevant to today's topic and our guest, who's of course Judo Sloth. Like I said, doesn't need much of an intro. Judo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on. I listen to the show. I always enjoy listening to all the different Clash of Clans podcasts, to be honest. So I'm excited to just chat about Clash. I can obviously do this all day.
Yeah, that's what we are here to do. So I think let's just dive right in. 2025 is essentially the year of Town Hall 17. How do you feel we're going to look back on this year and on just Town Hall 17 in general?
I think it was a very good year overall, to be honest. They made a lot of good changes. Clearly, removing training time is going to go down in the history books of one of the best changes ever. There might have been years that were maybe more impactful, like when Clan Wars itself was released or something like that, right? But in terms of the volume of stuff that we got, and actually some of the meaningful quality of life changes, it was certainly one of the best. You phrased it at the start. So I would definitely agree that it was one of the best. I think there was a lot of things that, it could be improved as well. And a lot of easy wins that they could have picked up along the way too. But everyone's always going to be subjective in like how they like town halls and stuff. I personally really liked Town Hall 17, mainly because I had never really participated in like Legends or like forced myself to like push in multiplayer as much prior to Town Hall 17, and now it's like my favorite part of the game. So it kind of inspired that within me.
Yeah, you did your bigger Legends push. You got like third globally or something, right?
Number 3, Rick. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was before the Legends change though, wasn't it?
Yes, that was back in February, like early on into Town Hall 17.
Yeah, are you still as into Legends now after the ranked mode change?
I am. I just try and take it a bit more casually because I don't think I can ever commit that amount of time like I did. Last month I pushed for the last 2 weeks of the season, and I kind of like threw it in the last 2 days. But this month I was committing quite a lot, like more than I wanted to be honest. And then this week I've had to like dial myself back. So I am still pushing. I think like right now I was resetting like nigh on top 100, but I'm like 700th or something right now. I was getting to the point of taking it like too seriously, which is not what I wanted to do, and I wasn't enjoying the game as much. I was putting way too much pressure on myself.
Oh yeah, I know that. Like I'm nowhere near top 1,000, and I'm still like, there's a lot of days I feel too stressed out with my performance for being 5,300. But thinking about the Town Hall 17 meta, though, it kind of feels like it was the year of Electro Boots. Did you enjoy that meta for as long as we've had it?
Not for as long as we had it. I think it can sometimes be good for something to be at the top of the meta and just force you to change strategies in a way. But the length of time that Electro Boots was like clearly number one was not great. Because there really wasn't a better alternative. Even if something worked, it just wasn't anywhere near as good. They definitely want to like balance equipment when they come out, but sometimes if an equipment comes out and it is like the action figure is another one, right? It's like it's meta for pretty much any strategy. I think it's good that we can have those switches from time to time, but the length of time that it was literally just Electro Boots and that was it was not really healthy for the game.
Because we got the Springtrap change was obviously aimed at RC charges, and that came really late in the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta agree that like it's a fun strategy. It changed the game and the meta across different town halls, and yeah, it did feel like I would have liked an alternative sooner.
I think they got themselves stuck, in all honesty, because they realized it was too OP, so they nerfed it, and they didn't nerf it enough. And like they were going to get backlash because no one wants to see nerfs. And I think they were overcautious about that when they nerfed it. And then they clearly didn't want to nerf it again. So I think they were riding the storm until Town Hall 18 when they could almost force a meta shift by not nerfing the electro boots, but just inadvertently giving a bunch of other stuff. So I think they got themselves stuck in not wanting to like upset the community, but at the same time, they really didn't have any options, or they didn't do any of the options they may have had.
Leading up to most of the year, I'll say before the ranked mode update, Town Hall 17 has been, at least in my opinion, one of the easier town halls.
For sure.
I always like to look at Champs 1 hit rates as kind of the analog for how easy the top town hall is, because it's just the easy stat that we have. All year, it was Champs 1 hit rates were set at least 70% all year long. The second half of this year, 75, 76% pretty consistently, at least as far back as ClashBot goes. By far the easiest town hall we can look at, and that goes all the way back to since CDL started in Town Hall 12. Do you think Town Hall 17 was too easy, or is it what the game needed?
This is always such a difficult topic because everybody wants the game at different difficulty levels. I mean, I don't have the numbers, so if you have the numbers to back that up, that's interesting. I would have thought Town Hall 16 was easier than Town Hall 17, but I definitely think then 17 was like easier than 14 and 13. 15 was obviously like the hardest we had in recent years. But I think if you're talking about the more active community, yes, I think it was too easy. But now that we have modifiers, then it depends, because they really do need to cater to, you know, the general player base. So I think it wasn't in a bad spot if modifiers were in place. But I think since that was the all singing, all dancing, like everything, then yes, it was too easy. But again, people want different difficulties. So I think it's always so subjective. There's never like this is the perfect, even with like 4 different modifier levels as they go up through the leagues, they can't get the perfect difficulty for everyone in those. But at least it's way better than one size fits all.
Yeah. So we'll come back to ranked mode towards the end. As far as comparing 16, 17, I don't have it pulled up right now. 16 was a lot more variable. 16 obviously started slow because it took a while for Epic equipment to really.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so 16 started low, and it peaked a little higher than the highest of 17s because there was a season or two where just druids were really, really OP. But then it kind of, 16, the hit rate settled back, and it's been fairly consistently 70 in the 70s since around September of last year, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I'm just trying to go back to the start of Town Hall 16, and I remember, you know, like the pros were just doing whatever. You could 3-star. You think like Root Riders had like multiple huge nerfs, and they were still overpowered after all of those. So then considering like how overpowered they must have been at the start, it's like, it's crazy to think about. But there's always that learning curve that you sometimes forget about. Like even right now with Town Hall 18, the meta is like not necessarily the meta in terms of attack strategies, but the base designs are developing so quickly. It is crazy. Just because something works, because people don't know how to take it down. And then, you know, after a few days, people figure out how to take out that base. So the base designs completely shift. So yeah, I guess I kind of overlooked that learning curve at the start of Town Hall 16. But either way, 16 and 17 were both, you know, pretty easy.
There wasn't really a huge meta shift until Electro Boots, but overall it was still Root Riders and Dragons through most of 16 and 17, feels like.
Yep.
At least 18 has given us a new meta troop, so but we'll catch up to 18. The last thing I think that at least I'm going to remember from the Town Hall 17 era is just it was probably in series the most buggy updates back to back all year long.
Yeah, I mean, I said this in my honest review videos. I said this to Supercell when I was out there, you know, because, I mean, you know, we have a lot of conversations with Supercell when we're there. And I said, like, look, you you have to do something about these bugs because it just overshadows the updates, and that's what people remember, right? And people will download the game again because of an update, and then they download it, it's unplayable, they leave. Like, people don't give you a second chance. So I don't know. I'm not a coder. I don't understand. I know it's difficult to test on that level, but they have to look at the testing team, whether it gets expanded, there's more training, like whatever needs to be done. I will say clearly Town Hall 18, whilst there was 1 or 2 bugs, way better than the ones previously. Before the ranked update, I was chatting with people like, oh, fingers crossed there's no bugs. I was like, that's not going to happen. And I said exactly the same with Town Hall 18, but then amazingly, there was only, couple of little bugs, which is expected, to be honest.
The 18 release, very impressed that it didn't have any massive issues. There were some doozies this year too, like the ore bug that everyone is still talking about.
Of course.
At least on Reddit. But
Super Yeti?
yeah.
Like there's so many crazy bugs.
And some like the Super Yeti was fun though. It was. They're not all terrible game-breaking bugs. The Super Yeti coming out was that was fun for a while too.
Oh, the ore bug was fun as well, Vic, right?
It was fun for some people. I don't think it was fun for us dealing with on Reddit.
And fixing it as well.
The fix allegedly is still coming at some point.
Yeah, I was going to say, what fix?
I know. Like, we've talked about it a lot. I think
I think that's a situation where they got themselves stuck. And hey, I mean, they got themselves into that situation, right? Like I'm not saying they should identify every bug. I can definitely feel for them in that regard, but they got themselves in that situation, and then it felt like they were trying to catch up every single step, and they got themselves in between a rock and a hard place where they would, there was no right or wrong answer really. They were like stuck. So either way, they lose.
And they've been a lot slower to comment on stuff too. So with the Oro one too, they're kind of silent on it for a while, and like, don't worry, we're gonna fix it without a plan in place. I don't know.
I don't know for sure, but I think that might be just a side effect of like a larger team, that people have to go through other people and like check this and check that. Because I know when I was in Finland in the summer, I spoke to them a lot about communication and just like being upfront with us more, and like that would go a long way. But yeah, I don't know what it is. It's definitely, communication, I will say, has never been the strong point, but it's definitely not been as good in the last, year or two.
Yeah. Let's get into some of the specific updates. March brought us Clash Anytime. I mean, this is the big one of the year, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is what the year is remembered by. I guess ranked mode is pretty big as well, to be fair, but everyone will just remember the true training time being removed. And it's one of those things that everyone's going to like. Like, I mean, I know there was 1 or 2 people, this and that, but to be honest, how could it not be a good change? Like, it's amazing.
Ranked mode didn't have that large of an impact on me. It made Legends a little more difficult. Clash Anytime changed the way I engage with the game. It changed like how long I'm playing, when I'm playing. It was a big fundamental change in how I engage with Clash. How did it affect what you do?
I mean, for me, it was pretty game changing as well. More so because my legend attacks, like I said, like prior to Town Hall 17, I didn't used to attack too much. I'd go through phases of like, okay, I'm going to try and like force myself to attack a little bit more because I need to have some level of skill in the game, right, for content. But pre-production and post-production of videos is all of my time. Like, actually recording the videos it's a small portion of what I do. So I don't play the game as much as some might think. So when I was doing my legend attacks, obviously I'd try and space them out, like, 2 attacks here, 2 attacks there, or I'd have to pop a training potion and try and blast them at the end of the night. Now I don't have to worry about that at all. I can just, most of the time I end up leaving them until the night. But it doesn't matter because I know I can then just do my attacks back to back. And if only we had the Clan Castle cake all of the time, that would be the cherry on top.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what's funny is as well, like how quickly you adapt to the new normal. Like I don't even remember when troops took time because I'm just so used to everything being instant nowadays.
I mean, it must be amazing for you with multiple accounts, right?
Oh,
Of being able to just
real,
blast, especially the Valkyrie farming now. must be just
Oh,
laughing.
yeah, I can't even imagine going back. It's just it feels so inherent.
How many Hero Rush events have you done, like, basically solo, Liam?
Uh, well, actually, this one I helped Spencer's clan finish, and yeah, I was by far the number one contributor in my clan. So, but I feel like that's been the case most time. It's mostly just because I want to help it finish as quickly as possible, which is ironic because the longer you wait, the easier it is to do. Like now we have a 300% boost. But yeah, no, it's pretty nice.
I used to do 2 hits at a time too. I would do like I had essentially like a daily routine. I would do 2 in the morning, I'd do 2 mid-morning after I do my stuff, then an afternoon, and then, like, I would close it out at night, and a lot of times I would do, at least for half of the year when it wasn't, like, too late, when the reset comes late at night for me. But yeah, I would just do 2, 2, 2, 2 every day, and now I'm finding myself I'll do all 8 at once, and and now, like, I still wanna be in the game, so now I feel like I have more time to do friendly challenges or, tweak traps on bases or just be in clan chat and being social. Yeah, it's freeing in a lot of ways to how you can spend your time in the game, is you can do it. It's a lot more convenient for everyone. I don't know, it's banger of an update.
Yeah, I think the convenience is amazing. Aside from that, just being able to tweak the armies is brilliant. Like right now, I love trying to just tinker with things to see if something else suits my playstyle, right? Like it's not like you have to just stick to the way of doing a set strategy. So at the moment, I've been mixing in throwers with meteor golems and being able to just after an attack, I'll just drop a couple of those. I'll take a few extra throwers and like that's it. I can straight into the next attack or straight into the friendly challenge to try it again. I don't have to mess around with retraining the troops and stuff like that is just brilliant. So like just being able to test different variants as well is really nice.
Also enabled by the switch to recipes, so you don't have to change every little aspect just to switch armies. Storing, pets and equipment, massive.
Yeah, huge quality of life improvements.
The next thing I want to talk to would not have been possible with Training Time 2 is in the years prior, they had done these big community events where it was like Rubble Rumble, destroy however many billions of whatever, collect hundreds of millions of stuff, and it was a global challenge. And I never really liked those. 2025, we've seen now, we're in the middle of the third Rush event, which are clan driven. You can see your individual contributions in the clan. They're fun, they're engaging. You can super farm them if you want, like Liam. I've been a huge fan of all the Rush events.
Definitely.
Prefer the rush events over the ones with the community. Like for example, with Town Hall 18 release, the one where you were doing the meteor catcher, that didn't feel like I was contributing. Like it didn't feel like I was making a difference at all. Whereas with Clan Rush, you can actually see your leaderboard and be like, "Hey, I did something,"
Yeah, and it's legit as well because I gave the feedback on those events. Like to me, they were always just manufactured was the main reason I didn't like them. And I think it would just be better if they gave a scale of rewards where it just went up indefinitely. And, we weren't going to hit like a top reward. I think as soon as they added ore to the star bonus, that would have been perfect. Like just let us grind as a community if we want to get 5 times star bonus, 6, 7, whatever. But yeah, now that they've came out with the rush events, it's obviously way better that it's in game and everything like that. And it's just fun between clans. I like how they did it as well, where you can have more than just your clan, up to 100 people. So that's nice, where clans can kind of pool together, families of clans. And I equally like how they have the rewards set up, where it's just a decoration at the top that people can still grind for, but others don't miss out on the progression-based items. So I really think they did a good job with those rush events. I just hope that they do continue to iterate them, where they don't feel, where they don't start to lose their charm.
But yeah, we've had 3 this year. I think that's reasonable. Like, I was feeling pretty burned out after the Gold Rush was the first one. That was a lot. The way they've done the Hero Rush this time with the progressive boost has made it feel fine. I think a lot of people kind of burned themselves out early, not knowing that was coming. But if we get, continued improvements along these, I love them a lot more than the big global events too.
Yeah, and I think they will learn along the way. as to, because I don't think we had the boost in the first one, and they clearly must have seen that there was a lot of clans that missed out. So that's when they came with the idea of like, okay, how do we resolve that problem, but keep it so that's where the boost comes from. And then hopefully things can become a little bit more predictable for the community as well, because we've had times before where I think the first one, the boost, the communication shock wasn't great. Because we weren't even told like when the boost was coming as creators or anything like that. And it just kind of surprised the community, and people like to be able to plan what it is that they're doing. So I think the more predictable these events become as well, then it will be easier for the community to manage them as well.
And just to kind of expand on that too, I know like they don't want to give us the full roadmap ahead of time because they don't actually know it too, because they're looking at the data and they're looking at the completion rate, and they can adjust what those boosts are dynamically, depending on what's needed to get more clans across that finish line too. So I know they don't want to commit to something ahead of time that may not be needed, or they might
I think
be too
people
much,
just
so.
knowing that that is coming though
Yeah.
is then useful, because like I think even the second one, people didn't realize there was a boost even coming. So at least that regard, it might become a bit more predictable.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Looking up crafted defenses are one of the more controversial changes in 2025, I'll say. That came to us in June. Is temporary content the right long-term solution to balancing kind of new player progression versus keeping end-game players engaged?
Well, I'm interested on your guys' takes on this as well, but I would say yes, if they get the margins correct. Like, no one likes temporary content. We upgrade stuff because we like our villagers getting stronger. So now that we have the fancy shop, at least that is not just, completely swagged and you feel like your time is wasted. Yes, you get to reap the benefits whilst you have those superchargers, if that makes sense, or like the crafted defenses, but then it's just completely removed. But they definitely had the issue, and I think clearly the double levels is the example they gave, and it is a good example because we need to assure that people can start the game and realistically see themselves getting to the top level. And if cutting upgrade cost and time is the only option, then it doesn't really offer a fluid experience or like a learning curve. Everyone just unlocks all of this stuff so quick that they can't actually learn the game. And, that might impact their success, especially when it comes to then ranked mode and you want to succeed. So, and I think that's a whole separate thing that they do need to continue to improve educating people through the game. But anyways, aside from that, I think the temporary content is good. They just need to make sure they don't push it too far. And I think, to me, they're probably getting to around that boundary with where they, or at least how they released the crafted defenses. I'm glad that they reacted and have changed it. But yeah, we'll have to see what they do. I think overall it's good as long as they don't push it too far.
Yeah, well, that was something that I think it was Seth told you this summer, right? Where he said, "Hey, like we're gonna have to find that boundary by kind of hitting it and seeing what
Which is
too
true.
far." Yeah,
Yeah, they can't. It's the same with YouTube videos. Like, people might say they want to have, like, watch a particular video or do something in a video, but then how people actually act and how they engage with videos is totally different. So it is kind of true. Like, they will have to hit that margin, but hopefully the data they're seeing from the superchargers and the crafted defense is providing them with that. And yeah, we'll have to just see, I guess. But I'm curious on your guys' thoughts. I think it is good. It's a smart way to keep the top players engaged with something, and at least you're working towards those Sparky Stones. I don't mind the word Sparky Stones. I don't like the fancy shop name, but either way.
no.
I think it's a smart way to deal with that and allow other people to catch up. They just need to keep the balance of it right.
It's actually funny because initially I was a bit skeptical. I was like, "Oh no, here's a temporary thing. I'm never gonna upgrade this. I'm never gonna use it because why would I invest in something that's temporary?" And I felt like I would get a huge advantage if I didn't do it. But then I realized, like, as a free-to-play player, that it actually helps me more, like, to catch up And then when they added the fancy shop on top of that, it was like, well, now there's an extra incentive to do it. So initially I didn't like it at all, but I think I grew around to liking it. And I think it's a right long-term solution with a combination of other things like slashing costs, every new town hall and other stuff like that. So as long as they keep kind of trying to balance the act and find other potential solutions, so it's not all on one part of the game. Like you can't put all of it on temporary content. And I think that ties into what you were saying, Judo, with about not abusing it too much, like making, I don't know, 6
Yeah.
supercharged levels or stuff like that.
For sure.
What about you, Rick?
I love the variation in attacking bases now and seeing what crafted defense is there, having to adjust your approach based on that. Yeah, especially in war when you can really plan ahead. Like I love trying to bring that aspect more into the game. I don't love how much it feels like busy work. Um, and that's kind of the point. It made a lot of sense for the first crafted season when there wasn't a lot of Town Hall 17 left for us to build. There's I was really surprised that the crafted defenses we got with Town Hall 18 release were still 30 levels, still the same amount of time. I think it screws with incentives, especially with the fancy shop, because the idea with them, as it was pitched, I believe, was these are things you don't have to do. This is temporary content. It's a catch-up mechanism because you can skip it. And then as soon as you're caught up with all your permanent stuff, then you join the crafted defense fund down the road. Adding the fancy shop screws with that incentive. Yes, it's only cosmetic, but people love cosmetics too. So now you're tempted and teased to hurt your own permanent progress for a cosmetic. Yes, it's a choice. I don't love it. I get why temporary content is there. I'm in favor of why it exists. I don't know that this is the perfect implementation of that, but also I don't have any better ideas.
I think that's sometimes it. Like they had a problem to solve and they kind of they're going to go with the best option, right? It might not always be whatever they do. It might not always be the best implementation of it, but they have to go with just the best option that they have to try and solve the problem. And I think this is a good option. I don't think they will ever know if there's a perfect option. But, when it comes to the fancy shop, it's like, it's good that we have it versus not having it. I was always of the thing of we should get something, because I always think back to the Call of Duty days. There's a reason you would grind your progression to prestige and get that little icon. And I do think they should implement that sort of stuff into Clash of Clans as well. Like they've talked about profile overhauls for a long time. Let us earn icons and banners and whatever. They could just live in there. And then, because I think there is something of empowering players to make them feel like let them show off and feel cool. Like if let's say someone's been playing the game hardcore for like 10 years and then their friend downloads the game and like 3 years later they're now maxed as well. What does that hardcore player, other than like Christmas trees, have to be, to show like, oh, hey, I'm a long-term player, and like show off sort of thing? Let people do that. And I think cosmetics is a great way to do that because it doesn't harm game progression. But if you can let players be connected to their village and make them, feel like it's special and show off to their friends, then I think that's what people want to do. So let them.
I do got to give them credit at least for listening, and they have, through the fancy shop, they've given us something permanent to earn and keep after losing temporary upgrades, and they did extend the seasons they made them a lot longer after the initial outcry, because it was insanely short. But so it's something I think is going to be a theme for a lot of this, is hopefully they continue to iterate and improve, and I think they've shown they're on top of that stuff.
Yeah, I was saying I think I mentioned this even in my interviews with the team, but I think as a community, we can certainly give them some grace, because in terms of game developers, they really are cognizant of the community sentiment and they really do react. They don't always get things right, but they do listen. They don't always implement things either, by the way, because they have a lot of data that we do not. But I can appreciate that they do listen, and they really do try and adjust the game to make it as good for the community as possible. And that's not always apparent in, game companies.
All right, moving on. We had the first ever Summer Jam. The question I have with this is Summer Jam was great. Hammer Jam's obviously amazing. Summer Jam was a cool little surprise in the middle of the year. With the shift to yearly town halls, do you think they're adequately adjusting upgrade times and giving us things like Summer Jam and feeding us magic items through clan games and various other places? Are they doing enough to speed progression along to keep up with yearly town hall releases?
I think so. I think they are certainly adding a lot more stuff to help you catch up. They do have to be careful that people don't feel like if they missed an event, that's it. Like, oh, I missed that progression, now I can't catch up. But they are definitely giving a lot more free items, and not always in the same places, like in a lot of different aspects. And I think they heavily look at the data when it comes to the upgrade times and stuff like that, so that you can get through to that level. So I think 12-month cycles are fine. I know a lot of people think it should be longer, but I feel like, again, that just comes back down to how the game has always been, up until the last couple of years anyway. And generally, people don't like change, and they are kind of have their ways as to like how the game is, right? The same as what we were saying with temporary content. When it first came out, we're like, oh, we don't like the idea of that. But now that it's been in the game, we kind of understand why it's there, and we can appreciate the rationale of its implementation. And I think the same comes with the 12-month cycle. As long as they keep the progression accessible for all players, and I think that's the main thing. Like, free-to-play players shouldn't expect to have the same progression rate as someone who buys the Gold Pass or people who buy special offers, but they should still be able to progress through and actually, enjoy the game and have a good gaming experience. And if that balance gets thrown off, that's when they need to relook at things. But I think in general, yes. Like, even on my second account, I know I buy the Gold Pass, but that's basically all I buy. I don't buy any special offers, anything like that. I'm not even that active on my second account. And yet I always, like, max out everything.
I think where they could do better with progression, buildings and everything is fine. Heroes are always going to be a pain point. I don't know that.
Yes.
I don't know that there's a way around that. As far as like balancing gameplay and it being a business.
I think the upgrade times, right? Like they actually slashed them quite significantly, but they needed to do that because when they added the minion prints, the cost of the hero upgrades was reduced appropriately due to the added hero, but the time wasn't.
Yes.
So we essentially just had another hero, and like all year that was like that. And until Town Hall 18, or like I think it was the ranked update, actually, they did all the cuts. But that's when they made all the time cuts to the heroes. Yes. So if they are adding more heroes, they need to make sure that the appropriate time is decreased. Because I think in the interview that I did with like David Burke, when I asked him that, and he said like, oh, more heroes is an option. I think some people took my response the wrong way, because I don't think that's not, it is good that we can upgrade heroes and have, a full roster of heroes for our attacks. But what happened? Like, do we just get all of our builders locked up with heroes at some point? Like, what happens then, right? Like, they have to cut the times enough that we can upgrade other stuff, and we don't feel like we're just upgrading heroes all of the time. So, yeah, I totally agree. And I think they do have to be conscious of that, and they only just kind of corrected it in October.
I think there's still a long ways to go with that too, especially with now adding.
Yeah.
When the minion prints released, overall hero time went up if you count the hero hall time, which you have to do.
Yeah, sorry, I meant like I meant they corrected the time added from the minion prints, not that they'd like fix the problem. Sorry,
Yeah,
just to make sure no one's taking that the wrong way.
But yeah, where I was going originally was ore. Ore is also a problem.
Yep.
I'm rushing an account now, and it's never going to be ideal, especially with ore. The way ore is paced out is for a more traditional kind of playthrough, and I think it does okay at that. Where I am, the frustration with ore I have on my second account, it's a fairly new Town Hall 18 now, and I feel like I'm always chasing the last meta. Like, just there's new stuff coming out every other month, and it takes so long to save up. And I'm upgrading. I'm still have low level equipment on, on almost across the board. And if I compare that to my main account now, I every other month that's enough time for me to max out my blacksmith. I'm overflowing on ore, and I can max the new equipment day one, and then get back up to max ore. It's paced out perfectly for a player in my situation who's maxed
Yeah.
and buys event passes. That's just not the reality for the majority of people either.
Yeah, funnily enough, I recorded a video with Itsu where we discussed all of this, which it hasn't released yet, but I think that's exactly right. There's different player groups, and for the active player, the ore economy is actually fine, right? Like, but that's people who buy the event pass and play every day and are constantly doing wars. But it's arguably like I don't need to do anything other than buy the event pass, and I can max out the equipment on the next day, like the same day that it comes out, the new equipment. I never have to worry about ore or anything. But that's such a small player group. Then you look at the free-to-play players, and most importantly, I think the biggest issue is returning players. They're the ones that they just have an awful experience because they can't get all of this new stuff. There's just no way to catch up if you're a higher level town hall player that comes down to re-downloads the game. That's where they need to make sure that it's balanced. I think they have been improving the ore economy. The starry ore for free-to-play players is still the bottleneck. And I think we're kind of getting to the realization that they're not going to do. I mean, I know David said in the interview with me that they're looking towards more of a big overhaul. I don't know what that would be, but I think we can still expect that they're going to be trying to monetize through this, right? So I can't see a world where free-to-play players, unless you're super active, can max out everything. I don't think they're going to let us do that. So you do kind of have to get to the stage of finding out your playstyle. So Frostflake is probably a good example, right? It's very niche of a use case. So if it's not going to suit your playstyle, get the equipment in case for whatever reason it becomes OP in the future. But then, don't upgrade that equipment and save onto your ore for the next one. And then if the next equipment comes out and it's OP, it's electro boot level, then you've already stacked your ore ready to upgrade it. So I think the realization is that we are going to have to be more tactful in upgrading, but it's so different to the entire other area of Clash. Every other area of Clash, you max everything. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I want them to make sure that everyone has a good experience, because on the same token, if someone is buying the event pass and is buying ore, they need to get value for their money, right? So that's just so tricky to balance. I'm glad it's not on me. But I just hope that we can get to a stage where all of the player groups are happy with their experience. And to me, the starry ore and the returning players are the biggest issue right now.
Yeah, what you said about the returning players, I wonder though, is if there's a way to make it so that they can have an extra boost with cheaper ore upgrades without it impacting existing players, so that they have they're not overflowing with ore, right? If they can get that balance right.
I mean, what I suggested to the team is stick it in the village, with the re-engagement feature. I don't know why it's not in there already. When you get to the re-engagement feature, you get a bunch of ore. When you upgrade heroes, the levels feel less and less significant because it's such a small margin, and then the equipment is actually the powerhouse. So every 5 levels, we get a bonus in ore or something like that. Then it actually helps you feel like you're getting more out of the hero equipment as well. I think there's a couple of things they could, I say easily, but again, I'm not a game coder and stuff like that, but I think there's a couple of easy wins they could throw in there, which would help out drastically.
Yeah, and returning players, I can't imagine being a Town Hall 15 who comes back and you couldn't do anything that your clanmates are doing. They couldn't share armies with you because none of them's going to use the barbarian puppet. It's definitely something they can improve on. I think you covered it pretty well.
Yeah, they could go with those initial cookbook armies, huh?
Whatever happened to cookbook stuff? Yeah, that was. I forgot.
That was funny because in my interview with Seth, I didn't realize he was the one that like added them. So I was like, "Oh, the cookbook could definitely need improving." Like it's, and he was like, "I added those." I was like, "Okay, they could definitely need improving then."
Nice.
But yeah, they're a bit better now.
All right, October, we got ranked mode. How impactful do you think ranked mode has been now that we've had it for a couple months?
I think it's within the active community. It's great. It's very hard to see from a casual perspective, right? We don't have the data on that. I don't think we'll ever share us data on that. Like we can go off our YouTube video, like viewership and like engagement, that kind of stuff. But even then, it's difficult to draw any meaningful conclusions from that. I think in general, the people I speak to that aren't as engaged in the game, it depends on a few factors as to whether they like it or don't. I'm surprised we haven't heard anything as to whether it's actually been good or not, because I think it's something that they could never tell whether splitting the matchmaking was going to be a good or bad decision. I think they can make an educated guess. I think it solved a lot of problems we had in the game, but it equally brings new problems. So I think that's really hard to know. From my point of view, and if I were to have a guess, I think it's definitely been helpful just because of some of the issues that it resolves. But yeah, it definitely has its drawbacks as well. But for me in general, I love ranked mode. I think it's great. I think for the active players and the more competitive people, it's absolutely what we needed. But it's really hard to put yourself in the shoes of someone that just pops in and out the game very casually when I've played like hardcore for, 12 years and it's been my job for. So I always find like sometimes Supercell asks creators for like feedback. And when I'm in Finland, as you've found out, Rick, right, like we're constantly pulled into meetings and stuff like that. And sometimes if I get asked about that sort of aspect, like the new player journey and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, I'm not the person to ask. Like you need to get a focus group and like pull new players in and actually find them, right? Because I don't know what's going to actually engage someone in the game if they have no clue what a barbarian is. It's just really hard to say on a mass level if I think it's been good or not.
Oh,
but yeah. I would definitely say I would think yes.
Yeah, like I haven't lived through the tutorial since 2014. I've done the tutorial bunch, but it's something that I tap through and not pay attention to. And every time I start a new account, I know what I'm doing. So like I can't tell you what a tutorial needs to have for a new player. Like you're
I think the
definitely right.
tutorial needs to be more engaging, but I don't know what a new player needs to know what they're doing. Like if that makes sense.
The pace that you get introduced to everything in this game has been accelerated so much. You get heroes, in a week or two. If you're just clicking through upgrades, it's the first 7-8 town halls go very fast. And now, and you're town hall 8, now you're in the world of equipment and you have epics and all. That's a lot to throw at people really fast. But and also like I don't know if stretching out what is the most basic boring part of the game is great either. It's tough problems to solve.
I guess Liam can probably touch on the tutorial more than us. All those accounts.
Yeah, I actually go through the tutorial every few weeks or so when I create a new account. It's actually kind of funny because I've just gotten used to skipping it every time, and I've mastered the art of like tapping 4 fingers as quickly as possible to get through it. But yeah, no, I mean, if I was a new player, returning player, I'd find it actually useful, and thankfully it's only the unskippable part is only at the beginning. After that, it's kind of figure out your own style, kind of.
Yeah, no, Liam, you gotta tell everyone your latest your latest crusade about fixing unskippable stuff.
Oh right, yes, the events. So like every time we have a new event, like the Clan Rush event or a medal event, there's always this little tutorial that's like telling you, oh, this is what it's about. And no, it's great, love it that it's there. But you know how like you can only report an account one time per device? So like you can't report someone with 2 different accounts on the same device. Well, that should apply to the tutorial events. Like, why do you need the introduction on every single account? Can you just do it once per device? Like that seems like a a easy, good, positive change for me. But I don't know. I think I'm alone there.
Yeah, I don't think most people need to watch the event tutorials 200 times either.
Yeah, I think it's a me issue with having 200 accounts as well.
All right. So Town Hall 18 is going to be part of 2025 lore forever. Real quick, the change from 17 to 18. How much you love in 18 so far, just compared?
I am enjoying Town Hall 18. I think it's much like I was saying before, that it is difficult in Legends. You feel like boxed into certain ways of strategies and approaching bases. So I hope that the meta can be adjusted. It's really difficult to do, because this is one thing I spoke about in my Town Hall 18 review video. But let's say the troops that have new levels now and that are clearly meta, that's the strongest they are going to be all level, right? They are only going to get weaker from this point as new building levels are released. So it's really hard to balance them appropriately, because they might just be unusable as we get through the year.
Yeah.
That said, it's not healthy to just have one thing as the meta. But even then, it's the same thing that happens every town hall, right? The town hall comes out, people say something's broken, and then bases catch up and base designs develop. And then now you see a lot of top players moving away from media golems because they can get baited so easily. And I'm enjoying Town Hall 18 at the moment. I will say, like I said, I've put way too much pressure on myself. And because of the modifiers, even if you're doing well in Legends, if you fail a couple of attacks in a day, which is generally good, you're still annoyed with yourself because you want to be 3-starring. I think it's just a mindset shift. I do hope that other strategies are kind of boosted or become more viable, but it's still fairly early to say. And I'm until this season's out, I'm kind of stuck using the strategy I'm using. I'm a little bit gutted that the Fireball Rocket Loons doesn't really work as much, because I was loving the end of Town Hall 17 with that, and now it's so hard to use at Town Hall 18. But that's just a personal thing. Overall, I'm enjoying Town Hall 18. I just think it's still early, but we're definitely at a point where there probably needs to be some balance changes to, not just troops on offense, but some stuff on defense as well.
All right, then. Question of the hour. Where does 2025 stack up? Is it the best year of Clash? Is it one of? Is it even anywhere near the top?
I think it's one of the best. I think we've had some good years in Clash with some big updates. There was a lot of quality of life changes this year that were brilliant for active players. So it wasn't just a lot of new content to try and bring people in. There was a lot of things that also were good for, people that have played the game for a long time. So I do think it's one of the best. In terms of number of players and popularity of the game, I don't think we'll ever beat the release of Clan Wars and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I definitely think it's one of the best. I think there's a lot of quick wins they could have had as well that probably overshadow a bit of the year where they really didn't need to, and again, I think that a lot of that comes down to communication. So I guess the crafted defense is a prime example. If they had just told us the rationale as to why they were doing it, I don't think we'd have seen the response that we did. But when we're left in the dark, that's where people start drawing their own conclusions and going off on tangents as to what the thought process of this is. So yeah, I think overall one of the best, but there's some easy wins they could have done to make it better as well.
Yeah, I agree with Judo. It was definitely, I was about to say it was the best ever, just simply because of Clash Anytime. And there's also that thing where you tend to remember things as more positively the more recent they are. So I feel like it was one of the best years ever, but I'll probably say that about every year. So probably doesn't mean much.
Liam's the king of recency bias. We can always every time there's a mod vote or whatever, it's there's a running joke with me and Sam where Just like whoever speaks last is who Liam's going to agree with. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, I think there's a real strong argument for this being the best year. Just it's had a massive impact on how I play the game, how I engage with it. So I'm not gonna waffle. I'm gonna say it's the best year. I really do that. Like Clan Wars was huge. Introduction of equipment was huge. I think Clash Anytime, despite the bugs and the problems and kind of the bit of a stale meta and you know I complained throughout the whole year saying it was too easy, but I don't. I do. Yeah, I do think there's a real strong argument for this being the best year ever. Clash Ninjas in the chat saying best year so far. Let's hope.
I was just about to say, if it wasn't for Clash Anytime, I could see 2026 being better because I think they implemented a lot of new stuff this year where they just learned whether it was collaborations, whether it was like the Gold Rush event, whether it's there's so many things that I feel they learned a lot with. And I think they're starting to get on board a lot of like feedback, which we've been providing in terms of like communication, the dev videos and stuff like that, that it does seem to be getting better. So I could foresee them being able to take all of those learnings into 2026. Plus, like the team is really passionate whenever you meet any of the people behind the game. And I think this is where, like, as a creator as well, clearly, like, we can share whatever we want, right? And in terms of our feedback, a lot of the time that's just done behind, like, you know, I can just talk to Supercell about it. I don't need to do it in a video. But when you do meet the team, you see the passion and like what it is that they're trying to achieve. I think if it wasn't for Clash Anytime, because I think that's just hard to beat, then I could see 2026 being even better for sure.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to move into questions at this point, and we will. I don't know how much time you have, but we'll get through
I
some.
booked out until like 5:30 UK time, so I have like 27 more minutes. No,
Perfect.
not 27, 37
yeah,
more
we
minutes.
will-
Can't even count.
I will be greedy, and we will take a decent portion of that. So
Sure, I know I'd like to get through as many questions if people have them. You know.
first up, this is from Reddit. How do you feel about being the link between creators and the community?
I guess maybe that's how people perceive it. I don't feel that way because I mean I can see where the community don't know this, but obviously like you're in the creator chat, right? And a lot of creators share their feedback, and like we do, we will share our honest feedback with Supercell in that chat, and a lot of the time that is from their communities, right? Like putting across what it is that has been in the comments of videos or whatever. So like. Yeah, it's not just me. Like clearly there's all the creators in that chat are like sharing their feedback. And that's why we can just have a conversation with them because sometimes you don't always understand their point of view either. So it's better to just have a conversation with the team and, you know, you're much more likely to impact change through that because you can actually have a conversation with them. But yeah, I always share my thoughts, the thoughts, any concerns I see from the community, but so do all of the other creators in the chat. So I don't feel like that, but I'm happy that people feel like I can voice their concerns anyway, if that answers their question.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's because you're the most well-known or most popular creator then maybe. Anyways, from Marco757, how much of the creator's feedback gets applied in game? Do you feel your suggestions have impact? Any specific examples?
I feel like it gets implemented here and there. There's obviously examples where it doesn't. Like, you know, I know it wasn't 2025, but like the gold pass change when they put the decoration in there, like every creator was like, this is not a good change. And we even had like long drawn out messages as well, like prior to it being implemented as to like why we didn't think it was a good change, like trying to understand their rationale and then like counterpointing what they were saying and stuff. I can respect that they listened and they were like, you know, chatting with us about it. But at the end of the day, like, they don't always have to implement what we say. I can just respect that they listened, but there's certainly like many situations where they will take on board what we say and actually implement it. Because again, we don't have the data that they have. So it's easy to say, oh, they didn't listen to us, but you know, we don't have the context they do. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the time it's not even just retrospective. So I'm sure it's fine to say this, but I give feedback prior to the modifiers coming in. I mean, to be honest, the amount of discussion that I had with the team about ranked mode was crazy. There was times when we were complete loggerheads as to like what they were trying to achieve and what I thought the community would want. And that might happen. But a small example, I guess they'd be fine me saying, is the names of the modifiers weren't initially what they were. And I provided feedback. Like, I really don't like these names of the modifiers. I think it makes people feel like they're rubbish at the game if they're not playing in these modifiers. Like, everyone else is just playing on like beginner mode. Then, like, why make people feel rubbish like that? And they changed the names. So that's just a small example, but obviously that can happen on like bigger scales, smaller scales. Like, a lot of creators putting their point of view, I'm sure they look at it as a whole and like, what's the general consensus here? But yeah, that's just a small example, I guess, for them.
There's a lot of stuff that creators suggest and bring to the table that gets applied in game, especially balance wise. There's always multiple iterations of everything, essentially with balance changes, and it's not just creators, but playtesters and lots of people have input
For sure.
on that. But they're constantly asking, like, hey, like, what do your communities feel? Just to have creators as the conduit of that information to flow directly to them is, like, I mean, I see,
For sure. I mean,
yeah.
I think they're trying to foresee any problems, right? But they can't always do that as effectively as us who are like deeper into the community. So that's where we're able to provide feedback and hopefully impact things like before they're even released.
All right. Next one. Are you concerned that only Home Village is getting updates lately?
No, I'm not concerned. I think there will clearly be some people that want those other villages to get updated, and I would like them to get integrated better at some stage. But equally, like, for anyone that didn't see the interviews I did with the Clash of Clans team in the summer, I can thoroughly understand their rationale of like, where do these villages fit into the core experience? And I think until they get that down, then it is really hard to say, what can we do to improve Builder Base? Because, like, for example, Builder Base 2.0 was just like an attempt to make the Builder Base better, but there was no real connection between the home village or like the actual experience of a new player joining the game. They just feel like disconnected villages. So I think until they can get the home village in a stage where they're like, okay, yeah, now we can think about where these villages fit in, I can at least, understand the rationale there. So I don't know what the answer is for them, to be honest. Clearly, it would be nice for every area of the game to get updated, right? But if you're asking me, are they going to update Clan Capital, and that then takes away from a home village update and things about actually improve, because I think there's a lot of quality of life improvements they could make to the home village. I think that's one area, like, for the active community, they could certainly do a lot more quality of life changes. I would far rather them work on those, right? So I'm not concerned, and I think I can respect what it is that they are achieving. I hope they do get to that at some stage, and it's not just kind of kicking the can down the road. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll always remain the main village for me, and I'm glad they're focusing resources on it. All right, next question from Fuzzy Beaver Nuts. As a content creator, do you prefer more difficult metas like Town Hall 18 or easier metas like Town Hall 17?
For me, I think the balance is fairly good right now when it comes to like modifiers. Because, like, yeah, it really doesn't matter. Like, it's so weird going back to like clan wars and stuff in like regular mode, because it just feels like so different now that you play like legend modifiers. I think if it wasn't for the media golems, it would arguably be like maybe a touch hard. But again, it's so difficult to. I think the main issue with legends is the amount of players in there, because there's 100,000 players in legends. And the difference between someone in like the top, even if you go to like 50,000th, like the skill gap in the top 100 to the top 1,000 is mind blowing. Like it just goes up exponentially as you go up through the list. So once you're like extrapolating that down towards like 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, those players must have an awful experience in Legends, because it must just be brutal for them. So I think there's just too many people at that top level of the game where the modifiers, they're almost in the same situation in Legends, that like the modifiers are too difficult for some people, but perfect for others. For me, I quite like where they're at. I get numerous triples a day. I've never had a perfect Legends day. Do I think I should have a perfect Legends day, though? No. Right now, I'm not good enough to do that. So that's not my expectation. Last week, I feel like I was putting way too much effort in and then getting frustrated because I would fail a couple of attacks. And like, you feel like that effort is not being rewarded. So that's why I've kind of trying to take it easier and dialing back. But for me personally, I think the modifiers and the difficulty of the game is in a good spot, but it's probably only because of meteor golems. If they were weaker, I think they would have to buff other stuff, in which I think they still should. But for me personally, I think the balance of the game is good. I think the difficulty they have is Legends is too large right now.
Yeah, and it's only going to get bigger too. It's easy to stay compared to
It's
other
easy to
leagues.
stay, but will people stay in Legends though? Like if it's not, I mean, they might stay there to just like farm in Legends and like blast some Valkyries, but like how engaging is that? Like I actually really like the Electro leagues on my second account. I feel that they're pretty fun to see that smaller league and not sweat as much all the time. But it just depends on what people want. So yeah, for me, I think the balance, like the difficulty, is good. But I think for a lot of people, Legends is way too difficult.
I skipped this for time, but I'm glad it's coming back up in the questions. My guy Fuzzy wants to know, where would you rank the 2025 World Championships compared to other years?
I think it's hard to say when you're casting because it's hard to like see it through the eyes of a viewer. So it seemed to go well. I really liked that it was as part of another event because I think that just gets more eyeballs onto the game where they wouldn't have been if it was just in Finland. Like no one else is turning up, right? So like no one's going to stumble across Clash of Clans. I think probably last year and this year were the two best. I wasn't there in 2023. That looked really good, but again, it's a different experience when you're watching it versus casting. This year, organization of the casting and like that side of things wasn't very good. It's a good job we had a very experienced team. So from a casting perspective, last year was probably the best for me. But from a viewing perspective, I think I want to say 2023. And then, yeah, I think the last 2 years have both been good. So I would say 2023 is number one. 2022, sorry, number one. 2024, number two. And then this year, number three.
I think the wars this year were fantastic. This was the most fun I've had watching the wars in person. Was for me was this year.
Yeah, I mean it was fun. We had some great matches.
It was
for
close
sure.
wars, back and forth, last minute changes and attacks and wins and fails, and I don't know, it was exciting. I had a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, like I said, for me it's different. Like even when I'm not casting, I'm preparing for like the next war and stuff. There's stuff you got to do backstage. You know, I didn't get to engage with it as much, and so my like perception is probably a lot different than how good it is to just sit down and watch.
Awesome. I have to unfortunately take off, but Rick, you can finish the end. Last question from my end, from Bcolite. Which troop, in your opinion, has seen the biggest rise, and another troop that has seen the biggest fall for Town Hall 16 and 17 in 2025?
Quite easy, to be honest, I would say. So the Valkyrie, worst troop for the longest time, but I think this is where it's important that it brings up an interesting point that when new stuff is released, like they can't always test for like what impact it might have, right? Because the Valkyries were just rubbish because they couldn't get through the base fast enough. Whereas once the Root Riders came out, they could open up the base and then the Valkyries could just run in behind and do what they needed to do. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, Valkyries go from like the worst troop to the best troop. So definitely the Valkyries number one. I think the fall from grace would clearly be the Druid because they were like crazy good and then they got nerfed the way they did. And I think it's good though. Like they're still a supportive troop, and they're still used very good. Like I watch, like I was saying, I was pushing the Legends. I watch a lot of Legends videos. I was even watching a video today of someone using like the Royal Champion a little bit further away from like their meteor golems and stuff, But just sending in one druid to keep her topped up, because she's not then like merged in with the regular army. So they can still be used in those like cool supportive ways if you know what you're doing. But definitely they would be the troop that took the fall from grace.
All right, we'll do 2 more. Do you think modifiers should be added to CWL?
I think it's inevitable that they, yes, should be. And I think it makes sense for those champion leagues now that we have 3 modifiers to just step down through them. I think Clan Wars is the real difficulty, because as you start adding modifiers, you split up the matchmaking, and like, I don't know what that looks like, but it's weird to have the game the way it is with, at least you don't have to play a different game mode, right? Like if you play in Legends, sure, you hit a bit more damage in the base and you don't have to worry about that as much in like regular wars, but it's, you know, you don't have to calculate different tiles of the fireball and then take extra spells of the giant arrow and stuff like that. So I like that. But I think Clan Wars will always be that strange area where it's trickier for them to add modifiers. But I think CWL, for sure, it makes sense to add them through the top champion leagues.
Yeah, CWL is probably the only way to easily implement it for the reasons you said. And then finally, we'll close with this. Are there any social aspects you would like to see added to the game?
Ooh. I would like to see something done when it comes to like clan alliances and you know, being able to link clans or move between clans easier, maybe having that bigger, you know, chat between clans or whatever. I think whatever they do, they just have to do well, that everyone is safe from a wide perspective, because I guess that's the unfortunate thing. They always have to think about, you know, the people that are going to, you know, do the most horrendous things. So as long as everything is implemented safely and securely, then whatever social features they can add are only good for the game. But I would say easy answer would be like linking clans together, whitelisting people across, like where you can just move across clans easily. Maybe there's a group chat or something where, you know, it's not just your regular clan chat, there's an alliance chat. That would be fairly easy. I guess, like, you know, they've talked about emotes for a long time. As long as that was only a spectator point of view, that can be a social aspect, right? Like when you're all watching someone in Clan Wars and the rest of your clan is throwing up emotes and stuff, like that's level of socialization. So stuff like that, I would say, would be good.
Definitely agree. And alliances have been asked for a long time. I think it's needed. It's one way, I think, to address how hard it is to start a new clan. Is if you can start a new clan and let your existing members move back and forth and help and do wars and donate capital gold, etc. That takes a little bit of the burden off, you know, asking people to come join permanently a level 1 without perks. And again, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a blast. All you guys, I will link Judo's channel. I doubt anyone needs the link because it's easy to find. You can support Judo by using code Judo in the shop. Do you have anything else you want to add before we sign off?
No, I'd just like to thank you for having me on as well. And Liam, who, you know, just dipped out really quick, didn't get a chance to say thank you and goodbye to him. So yeah, thanks for having me on and being, you know, allowing me to answer everyone's questions. I lurk a lot on Reddit. I don't always respond too much. So yeah, I'm just shout out to the community, I guess, everyone that supports me and helps me to be able to do this for a living. I, you know, try my best to do what I can to make the best videos possible and give back to the community as much as I can. And I know people were asking before about being like the voice of the community. And I said there's different, you know, lots of creators involved, but I'm happy I can, you know, provide that so that communication is at least a little bit better. So just thank everyone for listening and for the ongoing support.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks again to our guest Judo, and thanks everyone tuning in to listen. We will see you next year as we're going to take a break for the holidays and hope everyone has happy holidays and a good new year. We will see you in 2026.
All right, thanks guys.